Lanterns is said to be a grounded, mystery-driven series, centered on two of the most iconic Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan and John Stewart. Following the critical disaster of the 2011 Green Lantern film, live-action adaptations of the Lantern Corps were largely abandoned. Despite the movie's failure, the character's potential was never in doubt. Green Lanterns like Hal Jordan and John Stewart found their strongest portrayals not on the big screen, but in animated classics like Justice League and Green Lantern the Animated Series. That success clearly influenced Gunn's approach. Instead of another blockbuster film, they're giving Green Lanterns the serialized depth of a prestige TV show. Lanterns is officially set to debut exclusively on HBO Max in early 2026. The series will consist of 8 episodes, all with a gritty crime drama tone. Gunn himself compared it to True Detective, calling it a terrestrial mystery, a grounded Earth-based story with cosmic consequences. The character dynamics are expected to be a major draw. Kyle Chandler will portray Hal Jordan, the cocky test pilot known for his recklessness and sense of duty. Hal is DC's original Earth-based Green Lantern, a man defined by willpower and inner conflict, chosen by a dying alien named Aben Sur to wield the power ring. John Stewart, played by rising star Aaron Pierre, is a former Marine and architect known for his tactical mind and moral conviction. The contrast between Hal's impulsive style and John's stoicism is perfect for a buddy cop framework, and the show is expected to lean heavily into that tension. The show will also feature Guy Gardner. Guy is the most arrogant of the Lanterns, extremely flawed and proud of it. Lantern seems to be breaking from the traditional space opera mold, with James Hawes directing and writers like Damon Lindelof working on this. The series is shaping up to be a character-first, slow-burn detective drama rather than an intergalactic spectacle. Gunn has teased that the series will directly connect to the central narrative of the DCU, making it not just a standalone mystery, but a foundational pillar in the Gods and Monsters chapter. Supergirl is one of the most anticipated entries in the DCU, set to premiere on July 26, 2026. The film introduces a bold and emotionally complex version of Kara Zor-El, also known as Supergirl, played by Millie Alcock. Unlike previous portrayals of the character, this new incarnation promises a darker, more intense journey rooted in trauma, vengeance, and existential reckoning, far removed from the hopeful tone of her cousin, Superman. The story is directly based on the acclaimed 2021 comic book miniseries, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King. In that story, Supergirl is no longer the upbeat teenager trying to fit in on Earth. Instead, she is an emotionally scarred survivor from Krypton who witnessed the destruction of her homeworld and the death of everyone she ever loved. While Superman was sent away as a baby and raised on Earth with loving parents, Kara lived through Krypton's fall and spent years drifting through the remains of her dead civilization before arriving on Earth. This difference in upbringing gives her a far grimmer worldview and a deep well of pain that defines her character. According to Gunn, this film will be very different in tone from Superman. Director Craig Gillespie, known for I, Tonya and Cruella, will no doubt bring a distinct style to the project. The film is also rumored to include appearances by Superman and Krypto, though these have not yet been officially confirmed. What truly will set this version of Supergirl apart is her alienness. In contrast to Superman's integration into human society, this Supergirl doesn't relate to Earth in the same way. She's more isolated, more disillusioned, and far more dangerous when provoked. Her journey will not only stand on its own, but also help redefine what heroism looks like in a world filled with trauma and survival. Clayface is set to make a terrifying and tragic entrance into the DCU, with a solo film currently slated for release on September 11, 2026. The project is being written by celebrated horror filmmaker Mike Flanagan, with James Watkins directing. The film is expected to focus on Basil Karlo, the original and most iconic version of Clayface, first introduced in Detective Comics number 40 in the year 1940 by Bill Finger. Karlo was a washed-up B-movie actor who, in a desperate bid to regain fame, adopted the persona of a horror villain he once portrayed on screen. Over time, later interpretations of the character saw him gaining the ability to reshape his body like clay, making him one of Batman's most formidable shape-shifting foes. This power set allows Clayface to mimic any person's appearance and voice, assume monstrous forms, and regenerate from injury. Mike Flanagan's adaptation, however, will take a fresh and emotionally driven approach. Gunn has described the project as both a horror film and a tragic character study, echoing Flanagan's own comment from a 2023 interview. "If you want to do some horror-leaning DC stuff, boy do I have a great take on Clayface." That pitch clearly resonated with Gunn, leading to 2 completed script drafts before the film was greenlit. The film will reportedly explore the dangers of Hollywood obsession, using Carlo's transformation as a metaphor for the cost of chasing relevance and identity in a cutthroat industry. According to a THR newsletter, the story follows a B-movie actor who injects himself with a substance to keep himself relevant, only to find he can reshape his face and form, becoming a walking piece of clay. While the DCU film is not connected to Matt Reeves' Batman universe, which focuses on more grounded villains, speculation had long swirled that Clayface could appear there too, especially after The Penguin was released. However, with Warner Bros. Typically avoiding dual versions of characters in live action at the same time, the DCU's take on Clayface will likely be the only major portrayal moving forward. This choice was further cemented when Creature Commandos introduced a monstrous version of Clayface in its 5th episode, only to apparently kill him, suggesting a different incarnation than the one in the solo film. Historically, 8 major characters have taken the Clayface name, from Matt Hagen to Preston Payne and Cassius Payne, each with variations of shape-shifting powers and tragic backstories. While it's still unclear which version appeared in Creature Commandos, the 2026 film will almost certainly center on Carlo. As the DCU reshapes its identity under Gunn's leadership, Clayface stands out as a genre-breaking project, a deeply human story hidden inside a monster's skin. With a tone more militant than heroic, The Authority arrives as one of the DCU's most controversial additions. Based on the cult favorite team from Wildstorm Comics, The Authority will make a bold departure from traditional superhero narratives. It is violent, ideologically charged, and unapologetically complex, a team that doesn't just fight evil, but believes in reshaping the world, even if it means challenging the very concept of heroism. Gunn has described the film as a big movie, highlighting its central role in the evolving DCU, and hinting at its potential to redefine what audiences expect from comic book adaptations. The comic origins of The Authority can be traced back to the late 1990s, when writer Warren Ellis and artist Brian Hitch spun the team out of Stormwatch, a Wildstorm title known for its more grounded and cynical take on superhuman interventions. When DC acquired Wildstorm in 1999, The Authority emerged as the heir to Stormwatch's legacy. Its core concept was simple but radical: a superhero team that doesn't ask for permission to change the world, they take it. If Superman is the symbol of hope and restraint, the founding leader of the team was Jenny Sparks, the spirit of the 20th century. Born in 1900, Jenny aged slowly and wielded the power of electricity. Her personality, sarcastic, pragmatic, and deeply disillusioned, set the tone for the entire team. Sparks believed the world was broken and that someone had to fix it by force if necessary. Upon her death in 2000, her mantle was passed on to Jenny Quantum, the spirit of the 21st century. Apollo and Midnighter, perhaps the most iconic members, are direct parallels to Superman and Batman, but with a brutal twist. Apollo, powered by the sun, possesses all the physical gifts of Superman: light, heat vision, strength, while Midnighter is a bioengineered super soldier who can see every possible outcome in a fight before it even begins. Their relationship, first made canon in The Authority number 29 and reaffirmed in DC Pride 2023, was a milestone for LGBTQ+ representation in mainstream comics. Other standout members include Jack Hawksmoor, who physically connects with cities and draws power from urban environments, and the engineer Angela Spica, who replaced her blood with nanotechnology, allowing her to reshape her body into any weapon or tool. Swift, the winged huntress with superhuman senses, rounds out the roster with aerial agility. Gunn's enthusiasm for The Authority is rooted in his fondness for Wildstorm, and he's hinted that characters from multiple iterations may appear in the film. Notably, this will be the first on-screen adaptation of The Authority, a blank slate for introducing these complex figures to a global audience. Given that Apollo and Midnighter recently teamed up with Superman in Superman and The Authority, it's likely that the team will interact with the DCU's central figure early on. This could serve as a fascinating ideological contrast: Superman's hopeful optimism versus The Authority's cold, calculated interventionism. What sets the Authority apart is not just its violence or anti-hero vibe, but its philosophical boldness. These aren't superheroes concerned with public approval or strict codes. They believe they know what's best for the world, and they act on that belief with compromise. That kind of moral ambiguity could offer a sharp edge to the DCU, distinguishing it from the more family-friendly tone of Marvel's early phases. Gunn is ultimately taking a risk with the Authority, but it's a calculated one. This team, with its controversial legacy and radically different worldview, could become the cornerstone of a cinematic universe that refuses to play it safe. Paradise Lost stands out as one of the most intriguing and ambitious projects announced so far. The mystical warrior-inhabited island known as the birthplace of Wonder Woman, Paradise Lost will serve as a prequel to Diana's story, diving deep into the origins, struggles, and politics of the Amazons, long before the rise of their most famous champion. Described by Gunn as Game of Thrones with all the inhabitants of Paradise Island, this series promises a gripping mix of mythology, power plays, and epic world building, positioning it as a foundational cornerstone for the DCU's future. Paradise Lost has been framed by DC Studios as a mature, complex narrative that pulls from ancient Greek mythology and the more mystical corners of the DC Comics universe. It will explore a time of internal turmoil in Themyscira, where different factions vie for power and influence in a society ruled solely by women. This isn't the peaceful paradise often portrayed in prior adaptations. It's a world of secrets, ambition, and moral ambiguity, where the decisions made will echo into the modern age of heroes. The series is reportedly set long before the birth of Diana herself, which allows it to explore new corners of Amazonian lore without being tethered to the original story we've seen before. It may delve into the mythology surrounding Queen Hippolyta, the warrior Antiope, or possibly even Donna Troy, offering the chance to redefine the legacy of Themyscira from the ground up. This approach opens the door to a cast of powerful, complex female characters, whose choices will shape the ideological DNA of Wonder Woman herself. Paradise Lost is expected to explore themes of legacy, betrayal, and the true cost of leadership. The Amazons, created by the gods and isolated from the world of men, have always stood as both a utopian and authoritarian society. The show's potential lies in examining that paradox. What kind of sacrifices must be made to maintain peace in a land of warriors? And what dark truths lie beneath their seemingly noble ideals? Paradise Lost represents a bold new direction for DC storytelling, one that values deep lore, challenging moral dynamics, and complex female-led narratives. If executed well, it could become one of the most critically acclaimed entries in Gunn's DCU, offering fans a world both ancient and surprisingly relevant. The Brave and the Bold thrust Batman into his most personal mission yet: fatherhood. While Robert Pattinson continues his own journey in Matt Reeves' The Batman Elseworld series, The Brave and the Bold introduces audiences to the DCU's official Batman, this time not alone, but alongside his son, Damian Wayne, in a story that promises to blend high-octane action with complex emotional stakes. Inspired by Grant Morrison's acclaimed comic run, this film will spotlight a lesser-explored version of Robin, Damian Wayne, the biological son of Bruce Wayne, and Talia al Ghul, raised by the League of Assassins. For much of his early life, Damian was trained as a killer, conditioned to be ruthless, strategic, and cold. He's not your average sidekick. Instead, he's a miniature assassin thrown into Gotham's chaotic moral landscape, under the wing of a father he barely knows and often doesn't respect. This dynamic creates a volatile and compelling core to the story, one centered on a father learning to connect with a son molded by violence, and a son struggling to embrace empathy under the shadow of the world's greatest detective. Gunn has described Damian as his favorite Robin, noting his sharp personality, deadly skills, and internal conflict. The film, according to Gunn, will not only dive into this father-son relationship, but also serve as an entry point for the extended Bat family, characters like Nightwing, Batgirl, Red Hood, and others who have been absent from most cinematic portrayals of the Dark Knight. Andy Muschietti, known for his work on It and The Flash, is set to direct the film. The creative team has expressed immense faith in Muschietti's vision and passion for the DC universe, calling his direction funny, emotional, thrilling, and deeply rooted in an understanding of these characters. characters. Gunn has revealed he's working closely with the screenwriter, whose name hasn't been disclosed yet, to bring this complex story to life, though the script is still in development. As for release timing, the film's debut will be carefully scheduled to avoid overlap with The Batman Part 2, which is slated for October 2027. Gunn has made it clear that The Brave and the Bold will not be released within the same 6-month window, making a 2028 release the most likely window for this film. More than just another Batman reboot, The Brave and the Bold promises to shake up the mythos by understanding familial tension, legacy burdens, and moral ambiguity through the lens of a lethal 10-year-old and his reluctant mentor father. With its roots in one of the most celebrated comic runs in recent history, and its mission to integrate the wider Bat family into the cinematic landscape, this film may become the cornerstone of DCU's grounded yet emotionally rich storytelling. In a universe filled with gods, monsters, and vigilantes, Booster Gold offers something radically different. A fame-hungry, insecure, time-traveling wannabe hero who might just become something more. Set to receive his own live-action HBO Max series, Booster Gold is a perfect fit for the next era of DC storytelling, one that embraces emotional depth, self-awareness, and unexpected charm. Booster Gold, real name Michael John Carter, was created by writer and artist Dan Jurgens and first appeared in 1986. Unlike most superheroes, Michael doesn't hail from tragedy or destiny. He's from the 25th century, a disgraced former football star turned museum security guard who steals advanced tech from the Metropolis Space Museum and travels back in time to the 20th century. His goal isn't justice, it's fame. He wants to be adored, celebrated, and sponsored. In fact, he originally called himself Gold Star, but during a fumbled introduction to President Ronald Reagan, he blurted out a mix of his nickname and new persona, Booster Gold, and the name stuck. At first glance, Booster is the embodiment of superficial heroism. He markets himself relentlessly, cares about camera angles, and isn't above making a few bucks off his reputation. But beneath the gold-trimmed suit and self-promotion lies a deeply insecure man who's trying to rewrite his narrative, not just for the public, but for himself. This dichotomy between surface-level confidence and internal doubt is at the heart of the upcoming series. Gunn has described Booster Gold as a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to today and pretend to be a superhero. That comedic, self-deprecating angle is perfectly in line with Gunn's previous work, such as Peacemaker, where cocky exteriors hide broken past. Comic creator Dan Jurgens, who has championed the character for decades, believes that Booster is more relevant than ever. The character has more relevance now because of the way multiple media platforms have exploded and grown. He told comicbook.com, "Booster belongs in media. His voice and presence are tailor-made for this era." Indeed, Booster's obsession with celebrity culture, branding, and public image echoes our own time more than it did in the 80s. Booster also isn't alone on his adventures. He's often accompanied by Skeets, a sarcastic AI sidekick who provides historical knowledge and occasional moral guidance. In later comics, Booster evolved beyond his shallow persona, eventually working with Time Master Rip Hunter to protect the timeline, a development that hints at deeper potential for the DCU. His time travel capabilities also provide a narrative device that could ripple across the broader cinematic universe, tying into multiverse plots, origin stories, or crises on infinite timelines. Interestingly, Booster Gold was the most requested character when Gunn polled fans on social media, beating out fan favorites like Mr. Terrific. While not a stranger to live action, having appeared briefly in Smallville and Legends of Tomorrow, he's never had a project that fully explored his arc. If done right, Booster Gold could be the DCU's most unexpectedly moving entry, a show about a man with all the gadgets in the world, but no idea who he really is, until he has to find out. Swamp Thing is said to take a similar approach as Clayface, rooted in horror, mythology, and tragic transformation. It will be written and directed by James Mangold, known for emotionally rich, genre-blending films like Logan and Ford v Ferrari. Mangold has described his take on the character as a Frankenstein story, emphasizing its gothic horror roots, rather than traditional superhero conventions. Although it will be a standalone feature, it will remain canon within the broader DCU timeline, anchoring the supernatural side of the universe, potentially alongside characters like Constantine, Zatanna, and the rest of Justice League Dark. The character of Swamp Thing first emerged in House of Secrets number 92 in 1971, created by writer Len Wein. The most well-known version is Alec Holland, a biochemist working deep in the Louisiana swamps. After developing a groundbreaking groundbreaking biorestorative formula, Alec becomes the target of shadowy forces. A bomb planted in his leg ignites a horrific explosion, and as Howland, engulfed in flames, staggers into the swamp, the formula fuses with the surrounding plant life. What emerges is no longer Alec Howland, but something new, an elemental entity imbued with his memories and emotions, the Swamp Thing. The creature is connected to the Green, an elemental force linking all plant life on Earth. Swamp Thing can control flora on a planetary scale, speak with other plant-based life forms, and even regenerate from a single seed. But this immense power comes with an identity crisis. He may believe he is Alec Howland, but the truth is far more haunting. This philosophical tension has driven many of the best Swamp Thing stories. Swamp Thing could become one of the DCU's boldest entries, a poetic horror story about what it means to be alive, even when you're no longer human. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, comment down below your thoughts on any of the upcoming DCU projects I discussed in this video, and subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this one. Thank you again, and goodbye.